I mean, right away, we have the infamous RMD going up against the infamous Mage Paladin Moonkin. So I'm really excited to see. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with these two teams. But Gorecki added to the roster of Cloud9 adds a crazy versatility to it. I mean, Gorecki can definitely bring some other compositions to Cloud9, and they have only been playing that Rogue Mage Druid in past tournaments, but now they've been practicing some other things. So I'm so excited to see what it is we're going to see. I mean, we saw earlier from Cloud9 that they were running that Shatter play, and that looked very, very strong as well. But Method Black, they're notorious for that Mage Boomkin Holy Paladin, but Chanimals on the team, I can't wait to see what composition they're going to be choosing first. But here we go. Game number 1 has started, and I'll see you in there in just a minute. Welcome to Grand Arena, everybody. It's Method Black versus Cloud9, and as you can see on Cloud9, we have Businessman X, which I believe is Wealthy Man, Cubsy, and Channels, potentially? Or I'm sorry, not Channels. Gorecki on that Warlock. And then on the other side, we have Method Black running the bread and butter, that Mage Boomkin Holy Paladin. We have an LSD in WAD Arena at the moment, everybody. I'm really interested to see how this is going to happen. An Elemental Shaman, everybody. What in the world? Here we go. The gates have opened. Asper is pushing in. He wants to get offensive right away. Ooh, I like him in the Moonkin form. That's interesting. He's always using that glyphed form, but right away Asper is taking a little bit of pressure, and he's going to go ahead and use that Celestial Alignment. Looks like they're going on Cubsy. Cubsy sees it. He's going to use that Barkskin. The Hodge lands, as well as the Solar Beam comes out. He's in bear form. The DR Hodge, the DR Bash comes out as well, but the damage has not ended, and Barkskin has faded. The full Polymorph lands onto Cubsy, and they're swapping it over onto Businessman. He's going to force the Shamanistic Rage right away, and some defensive cooldowns have been forced out of Cloud9, but not a whole lot from that opener. And now both teams stabilizing for now, but that is a very scary moment. When you see Method Black coming in with that Celestial Alignment in their cooldowns, it is terrifying, and Cubsy and Businessman did a great job rotating through their short defensive cooldowns to survive through that. Now Asper taking a bunch of pressure as the Elemental Shaman and the Warlock just free cast right into him, and there's the Cyclone going out onto the Warlock. He's going to go ahead and get out of that very quickly. The Deep Freeze goes out into Cubsy. Majidin pushing in. He's trying to get the CC. The full Polymorph lands. Businessman forced to trinket out of that Hodge. He has no Shamanistic Rage for 20 more seconds. Cubsy still holding on to his trinket. Full clone lands. Nature Swift has an Iron Bark available to him, but he's sitting in the clone for now. Businessman desperately trying to line of sight, but the DR Polymorph comes out. Method Black, as they're pushing in, are getting rotted down completely by the Demon Soul of Gorecki. Look at all their health. They want to stay in. They want to get offensive, but they're just taking the D. Saved by the Light is going to proc onto Floria. He's going to use the wings as well. Businessman getting cloned up at 70% health here, looking to get another setup, and both teams have stabilized, but for Floria's wings there. Floria's wings, while they're pushing in, has kept them offensive so much, but how much longer can they continue this onslaught against this Warlock and Elemental Shaman's DPS? There's the full clone on to Asper from Cubsy, and it looks like Floria actually did end up getting locked out, and he's getting chunked down. His wings are going to be fading, but they still want to push in. There's the Solar Beam going out onto Gorecki, the Iron Bark being caught in a Businessman before the CC lands on Cubsy and Businessman, but they swapped it on over onto Gorecki the Warlock. They saw the Iron Bark and they didn't want to DPS through it. Floria now caught into a full Hodge. He gets out of it. I believe it breaks to damage, and Method Black continuing to push in. They don't want a long game against LSD. They want to make something happen right here, right now. Method Black continuing to be in their face, but this is Ascendance coming out from Wealthy Man. He's going to get cloned up on it. Nice clone coming out from Asper, stopping a lot of that offensive pressure, and it looks like Method Black is going to pull back on the close pillar for now. DR Bash goes out into Asper. He's catching a whole bunch of pressure. Hannah Sacrifice and Barks getting used for now. Floria, though, in the back line, just taking a whole bunch of Elemental Shaman damage, and he's going to be healing up through that. But here we go. They're pushing in. They want to make something happen. Wings up in 10 seconds, so he should be able to survive through this. There's the full Hodge out onto Cubsy. What are they going to do with it? The full Polymorph actually lands, and it looks like they want to continue the damage onto Businessman. He sees the name of the game, and he's going to try to line of sight, but the bash occurs at this point, and they're trying to set up some pressure. Even Floria getting some Judgment and Holy Shocks in at that point, but they're forced back. Majidin taking a whole bunch of pressure. Haunts connecting, execution sentence, wings forced out of Floria for now, and both of these teams are just looking for their opportunity. Cloud9 doing a great job just pushing these guys back whenever they want to play in their face. And Floria's mana is starting to get a little bit tapped. I mean, as we go into a deeper game, you know LSD is going to have that advantage. Cubsy's mana, 75%. Floria going for that mage drink. He's going to be drinking instantly back up to full, 100% mana, as well as Floria. And Cloud9's like, yeah, sure, go ahead and drink. Let's make this game a long one, and let's bring it to dampening and see who has the advantage. Both Majidin and Asper waiting for their DRs, waiting for their cooldowns to start pushing in. Majidin spinning out those Frostbolts, trying to get some Icicles ready for the next setup, but he's taking a whole bunch of pressure from this Elemental Shaman, chunking him down to 59% health here. He has the Icicles, he's ready to go. There's the Deep Freeze, but he is in bear form, so he has to get that Ring of Frost. He lands the Ring of Frost. The Hodge onto Businessman is going to force the Shamanistic Rage. The half poly out of the Ring of Frost is going to occur, but Cubsy still has not trinketed yet. Crazy amounts of defensives constantly being rotated for Cloud9, and as soon as they saw that, they pulled back. They know they weren't going to get a whole lot out of him, especially in the face of Goreki with a Demon Soul going ham. Method Black waiting once again for their setup. They're all about that setup. They're all about that burst, versus Cloud9's composition looks like they're all about that rot pressure and consistency. Asper taking a bit of pressure. They want to be out in the open. They want to throw their stuff at him, but they're getting punished every time they do against an Elemental Shaman. It seems like those Elemental Shamans' bolts and whatnot are doing quite a consistent amount of pressure, I have to say. Cubsy now at 92% mana. Mana's just never been an issue. Here we go. They're pushing in. Asper looking to get something set up here, but they're just continuing to rotate in line of sight. Deep Freeze lands on the Cubsy. Hodge on the Businessman. The full ring does land. Triple CC with the Solar Beam on the Goreki. Businessman has no Sham Rage for just a second or two. Now he's at low health with Sham Rage, and is it going to be enough? Cubsy's still holding on to his trinket through all this. He's so confident in his team to be able to survive through that. Even the denounce is coming out from Floria trying to set up the pressure, but it looks like Businessman is going to be A-okay with the Nature Swiftness of Cubsy. He's going to get cloned up at 72% healthier. It was almost a clone on that Nature Swiftness. That would have been so clutch. DR Bash goes out onto Asper, the Fear onto Floria, and Majidin's getting chunked down as Haunts connect, and a Sacrifice coming out for Floria to stop a little bit of that pressure, but they don't want to stop. Not anytime soon. They're pushing in onto Businessman, but this is Ascendance. He could turn this around at any moment. There's the Lava Burst coming out. He's trying to get in their face, but it's going to get cloned up, and Ascendance is going to fade, but they're not getting out of their face. They want to push up. They want to do some damage right here, right now. Cubsy now at 76% mana, and all of a sudden Method Black's drink is keeping them ahead in the mana game. Here we go. The Iron Bark preemptively coming out from Cubsy on that Hodge. Unbelievable play. It's going to stop a lot of that damage from the Celestial Alignment and the Orb, and he's going to go ahead and line of sight again. Cubsy's preemptive Iron Bark is probably going to save him his trinket here on this setup, but the Celestial Alignment is still doing a whole bunch of damage. He's holding on to that Shamanistic Rage for now, but like, look at the spread pressure. Majidin having to pull back and get a new Water Elemental, and they're forced back once again. Cloud9 for seeing the setups, for seeing as they push in, and you know, adapting accordingly. I have to say, this LSD is looking very strong against this Mage Moon King composition. And now Cubsy going for a drink at this point. But, I mean, how long has he had that trinket? I cannot actually remember a time where Cubsy even used his trinket. Cloud9 just looking so strong. But all it takes is one really solid setup, and all of a sudden one player goes down. And as I say that, the Deep Freeze goes out on a Cubsy. The full Hodge lands on to Goreki, dipping down to 60% health here. Full Polymorph lands on the Cubsy. Goreki porting away. Cubsy not trinketing out of this, not yet. DR Poly comes out of that. The beam out of that. Goreki gets out of that, and the Cubsy still hasn't trinketed yet, and Goreki is fine. Setup after setup after setup. Method Black seems to not be able to get the Cubsy's trinket as they rotate through the defensive cooldowns. Floria now pushing in still with his wings up. When he has those wings up, he is A-okay at letting his team push in because he can heal through it all, but the wings are going to be down in just a few seconds, and Majidin and Asper are taking a whole bunch of pressure. There's the Hodge and the Goreki. He's going to get out of it instantly. Cubsy into the full Cyclone, as well as the overlap of the Polymorph. That might be detrimental to the setup as they're both DR'd now. Goreki at 75% health here, and Asper trying to push in. He's going to get bashed by Cubsy, and he's going to trinket out of it and try to land a Cyclone. He lands a Cyclone onto Goreki. Asper now in a Cyclone, but they're not really getting anything accomplished, and we're at 17% dampening now. LSD might start getting an advantage here. The GCD Majidin trinketing out of that full Cyclone with the Hand of Sacrifice. The Deep Freeze goes out into Cubsy in human form. Full Polymorph does land. Iron Bark onto Goreki. Should keep him alive for now. There's the Solar Beam. They're trying to set up onto Goreki, but that Iron Bark prevented so so much damage, as well as the grounding totem from Wealthy Man. Good play by him. Asper pushing in, but he's at 50% health here, and somehow Floria is keeping him up through all this at 60% mana as they constantly just keep pushing in over and over. Looks like they're focusing down Go Reki's pet. That could be a big deal. Asper taking a whole bunch of damage. Hannah Sacrifice, Saber the Light, and Barkskin being used here. The Hodge on the Go Reki though, as Cubsy actually uses his trinket to dispel him out of that. The DR Polymorph on the Cubsy, and Go Reki's just playing the name of the game and line of sighting for now. DR Bash goes out on the Cubsy, Polymorph onto Businessman to stop those off heals and whatnot, and peels. And it looks like Cloud9 has once again stabilized for now, but they know dampening's getting deeper. Method Black knows they're going to be losing their advantage soon. They're not staying out of Cloud9's face. They just want to push him to it. There we go. Heart of the Wild still up for Cubsy, keeping his team alive and topped off. Bash onto Asper is going to be bopped by Floria. He wants to get offensive. He wants to get in there right here, right now. Aura Mastery being used by Floria as they push in. Floria, though, is the one who's taking a whole bunch of pressure from a Wealthy Man. The Elemental Shaman is just procking right into him. But here we go. They're pushing in. They won't give him a break. They can't stop not pushing in. And that's the Demon Soul coming out from Go Reki. They see that, and I believe that Demon Soul is what scares them off. And but still, Businessman just pumping out the pressure to these guys. Proc and Saved by the Lights left and right. Now Wealthy or Majidin in a little bit of trouble getting Saved by the Light procced onto him. And it looks like these guys are pushed back here at 30% dampening. Cloud9 versus Method Black game number 1 is an intense one so far. And it looks like Cubsy's getting another drink once again. There's the Solar Beam coming out. They want to set up. The full Hodge lands on the Go Reki. He's getting chunked down so hard. He's using Hellstone. He's using Regen, but isn't going to be enough at 30% dampening. Even the Denounce is coming in for Floria. He can't catch a line of sight. Wings coming out for Floria. He wants to get his team offensive. Cubsy out of the CC without Trinket for 20 more seconds. And Go Reki gets cloned. Low health at 60% health here. Asper forced to use that Barkskin. He wants to stay in their face, but it looks like Go Reki has stabilized for now, but that was an absurd amount of burst. And I don't know if Method Black can continue to stay alive as they get deeper into dampening. Maybe Cubsy won't be able to heal through this crazy amounts of burst. And there's the Hodge on the Go Reki again. The deep freeze on the Cubsy. They're trying to get CC out of that, but Cubsy's inside the orb. It would just break. Floria actually gets locked out. Saber the Light pops up, but can he stay alive through this? It's going to force his execution sentence. Asper now taking a bit of pressure. Lots of dots landing onto him, but look at Go Reki's health. He has Demon Soul up. He wants to get offensive, but he's taking so much damage. The DR Polymorph lands on the Cubsy. He has no trinket available to him, but he's pushing in. The Solar Beam on both the DPS land. Cubsy does a defensive bash on Asper. He gets bopped out of it, though. They want to land the kill. They smell blood in the water, but Cubsy isn't having it. He's desperately trying to heal up Go Reki through this 37% dampening, but these guys know they need to make something happen right here, right now. The deep freeze on the Cubsy. The full clone lands, but everyone on Method Black is dying. The bubble is forced. Can they land a kill right here, right now? 45% health for Go Reki. He's desperately trying to stay alive. Full Polymorph lands on the Cubsy. No trinket available to him. Do they have the damage to end it, though? The Ice Novas come out for Majidin, but he's at 30% health here. Floria is just about tapped on mana. Iron Bar coming out for Cubsy. They just have to survive, and Floria will be tapped at 40% dampening. The Shamanistic Rage used by Wealthy Man. I think he just wants to negate as much damage as possible. He knows he's ahead. He knows he has the buttons to press, but was that the right move? The Cyclone goes out on to Go Reki, but he has Demon Soul up, and Floria is tapped on mana. This is a scary moment. Businessman getting hodged up. They're swapping it over onto him. Is it going to be enough? He does have Sham Rage. This could be huge. He teleports away. The half polymorph goes out onto Cubsy. Businessman desperately trying to get away. Floria is right next to him, trying to stop the kicks. He actually does. He kicks Businessman's heel, and they're pushing in on him. Asper trying to land the clone onto Cubsy. He gets feared up on it, but Businessman's not out of the water just yet. Cubsy's having a hell of a time healing through this dampening. He's going to get cloned up at low health, and he's going to trinket out of it. The Ascendants, they want to turn it around onto Majidin. Majidin doesn't have hypothermia up. He still has one block available to him, but it's still a scary moment for him, as that Ascendance is a lot of burst. But here we go, the Hodge onto Businessman. Cubsy still not into any CC. The triple DR Cyclone just stopping as much healing as possible. Floria has 7% mana at this point. Ironbark on Businessman is going to keep him alive for now. And how is Method Black going to come back from this? Save by the Light procking for Asper. But look at that itty bitty Save by the Light. It's so small at 47% dampening. Floria, 9% mana. These guys got to pull back and drink, or they got to make something happen quick, because Cubsy at 41% mana and his entire team healthy is rotting down Method Black. We are at 48% dampening, 49% dampening, Majidin at 21% healthier. Everyone is dead for Method Black. There's a Solar Beam onto Businessman. He's going to Stone Form out of that, but they're swapping it over to Cubsy, but it doesn't matter. They push in and they die. Cloud9 somehow, some way, surviving through the constant setups, and they will take game number 1 of this best of 5 series. Man, sorry guys, that hurt my throat and stuff. Alright guys, that was intense game number 1, and I have to say, my throat does not like LSD. Ugh. Not the drug, the comp. That was intense, man. Alright, we're gonna get a composition lock-in and a map comp lock-in from Clutter, and as soon as we have that, we will know exactly what it is we're gonna be doing now. Against LSD, well, that being said, I should probably add a little bit of context to that to you guys who don't know our format. So the loser of a game actually gets to know, or gets to choose the map, and then gets to hear what composition their enemy team is going to be playing before they lock in their own. So if they see that LSD is doing a really good job against their Mage Moonkin composition, then they could adapt accordingly. I mean, they have Chanimals on that roster. Who knows? Maybe we'll see an LSD2 versus an LSD. I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen. But it looks like Ruins of Orderon is going to be their map choice. And as soon as the teams are ready, we'll jump right into it. Same composition will be played for Cloud9. They're sticking with that LSD. They know it cripples their Mage Moonkin composition. We're waiting for the composition from Method Black still. Again, they have that 4-player roster this time around. They're not just sticking with the one comp. They can adapt, but will they? Will they just stick with their bread and butter and do whatever it is they can? I mean, there was a lot of close calls in there. They were adapting accordingly. They swapped over onto Businessman when he shamanistic raged for almost no reason. They're looking for mistakes and trying to cash in on it, but C9 did a really great job. Cubsy playing so well, preemptively ironbarking multiple setups. It's going to be a tough series for both of these teams either way. Bread and butter. Sorry, I'm just reading chat for a little bit to give myself... LSD is cancer. No. I mean, you do what you gotta do to win. So, I mean, the compositions that we can see from Method is Mage Lock Shaman, or I'm sorry, Mage Lock Paladin, Mage Moonkin Paladin, and Warlock Boomkin Paladin. So, I mean, I honestly don't know what composition is going to be the best, but it looks like they're sticking with the same composition. They're going to run that Mage Boomkin. They have played this composition so many times. They are so familiar with this setup, and they're confident they can make it happen here. So we're going to queue up as soon as possible, and we're going to jump right into Ruins of Orderon. I believe it was Ruins of Orderon, right? Just making sure. Yep, Ruins of Orderon. Alright, here we go, guys. We are in Ruins of Orderon. It's Method Black versus Cloud9. Method Black down a game in this best of 5 series, going up against an LSD, but now it's on Ruins of Orderon. Majid and Aspirin Floria may think that on a map like this, it's a lot smaller. Maybe they can get these setups and prevent the line of sight from Cloud9 a bit more. I mean, they're going to be a lot more vulnerable on a map like this, but I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. And to answer someone in chat who asked what it is I'm drinking, it's actually water and matcha, which is just green tea mixed together. Give me a little bit of caffeine. That Ellie isn't even geared. He's in 680 item level. So just to reiterate, guys, everyone's in tournament gear. So everyone is at the same item level as each other. They're all in using tournament gear, which is only usable in war games. But here we go. The gates have opened. It's Floria, Majidin, and Asper versus Wealthy Man, Go Reki, and Cubsy in game number 2. Cubsy in stealth, not doing too much yet. A couple lava bursts being pumped into Asper here at this point, but man, I gotta be scared for Cloud9 at this point. This map is so small, but Cubsy's gonna have to rotate his defensive cooldowns well. Haunt's connecting onto Asper, dipping him down to 55% health here. There's the setup. The Hodge goes out on to Businessman. The beam onto Cubsy. Businessman's gonna force that trinket Sham Rage as well. I'm not sure about that, but Asper is the one who's on the back foot at this point, dipping down to 46%, and Floria's keeping him up for now, but Businessman's still low through the Shamanistic Rage. Full Cyclone lands. The Nature's Swiftness did not go off, or it didn't do a whole lot onto Businessman. Ironbark being forced as well, and already this game is looking a lot better for Method Black. Bash goes out onto Go Reki. He's going to get out of that right away, unbounds it, and the Ironbark looks like it's going to keep Businessman alive, but that's because they're on Go Reki right now, dipping him lower and lower. The deep lands on the Cubsy, but nothing to follow it up just yet, as GCD Majidin was locked out on that polymorph. Bark's getting used by Asper to keep himself offensive as he just punches the pressure into Go Reki, and it looks like they're trying to kill the pet as well, but they don't succeed just yet. Majidin forced to fall back as he has those haunts and whatnot connecting on himself, and he looks like he's going to be okay. Saved by the Light did proc there, so he should be, but oh my goodness, just the lava burst coming in from Wealthy Man. It just chunks these guys down every so often, but here we go. It looks like they want to push in as Floria is using those wings as well. Majidin trying to kill that grounding totem, looking for the setup. Asper looking for the clone. He gets locked down on it. Cloud9 constantly, I like their positioning. They use whatever line of sight they can, and these are good line of sight. Majidin pushing in is now being punished for it as Haunts connect still. Drain Soul coming out for Go Reki, dipping him lower. Saved by the Light proccing as well, but they want to get in there. They want to go offensive. Deep freeze on the Cubsy. Full polymorph lands. Hodge on the Businessman. Even Denounce is coming in. Can they get the pressure out they need? But Majidin getting feared over and over constantly on these setups, and they're forced to pull back again. And now all those defensive cooldowns that they forced in the opener are just about back up already. Cubsy has his Trinket, Nature Swiftness, and Ironbark available to them, as well as Businessman's Shamanistic Rage and Trinket are about to be back up. So Method Black is going to pull back and regroup, see what they can do. But so far this positioning for Cloud9 has been working quite well for them behind these gravestones out here. This is like the only line of sight other than the tomb that this map offers, and they are utilizing it to its fullest. Looks like Floria is gonna heal all the way back up to full. 1 minute left for Asper's Celestial Alignment, which is his main damage increasing ability. There's the deep freeze on the Cubsy. Hodge on the Businessman. The setup 1-2 punches here once again. Not even a Shamanistic Rage was forced at that point though, as Floria is put into a full fear, and Asper's forced to retreat with that Displacer Beast, and they have to go every single time. This 30-second cooldown on the Hodge and the Bash and everything gets just shut down completely. They have to stop and reset and wait, or they're just going to be taking unnecessary damage, especially through Go Reki's Dark Soul at this point. And look at them, they're just hiding behind the pillar. They know they have the advantage in this scenario, and they're going to milk that advantage to the very end. And I have to say, I am a fan of Go Reki's mount. That is a very cool mount. Back in the day, me and Hannah farmed that mount for hours and hours and hours. It is a very cool mount, obviously giving him a whole bunch of an advantage here in Ruins of Lordaeron. But here we go, they're pushing it again. Can they make something happen? Hannah Sacrifice goes out onto Asper, preemptively trying to stop that damage, but the Shamanistic Rage from Businessman is going to come out, and they didn't even press any buttons. They're like, oh, you're going to Sham Rage? I'm just going to pull back and wait for that to fall down and then kill you again. But here we go. There's the orb coming out. The deep freeze polymorph is going to land. Celestial Alignment onto Businessman. He has no Sham Rage through all this damage. The Bash goes out onto Businessman as well. Can they win through this mistake? The DR polymorph lands on the Cubsy. He has his Trinket left. Ironbark being forced out of Cubsy, as well as the Nature Swiftness, but it didn't do a whole lot. He's going to get cloned up at low health, and Businessman doesn't have his Trinket available to him. This is the setup that they've wanted all game long. Lots of heals coming out from Cubsy as soon as he gets out of that, but he's going into another clone. Full Hots onto Businessman at this point. Aster has that bop on him, trying to be offensive, trying to be in their face. Full polymorph lands. Businessman forced a trinket out of the Hodge instantly, but the pressure from Method Black continues. But how much longer can they handle being in their face? Businessman going to stabilize for now, and now Majidin's the one who's at relatively low health with Asper. The double Shadow Fury coming out from Goreki on both Floria and Asper, just shutting these guys down non-stop as they sit all on top of each other. Both Asper and Majidin getting knocked away by Businessman, and he's just going to be A-okay for now as Shamanistic Rage is back off cooldown, but Cubsy's trinket is gone. Nature Swiftness and Ironbark has 8 more seconds on him, and here's the setup. They know they can do something right here, right now, but Cubsy gets out of that CC before that ring lands. Businessman has a Shamanistic Rage available to him, but when he's going to use it is a big deal. Asper getting caught in that bash. He has no trinket, and he's taking a whole bunch of pressure at the moment. Floria is still in a fear, and Asper could be in a little bit of trouble. He's going to Shadow Meld and Prowl, so he's going stealth to get out of there. Majidin now catching a bit of damage. Hand of Sacrifice being used, as well as the Save by the Light's going to proc, but they're pushing back in with Floria's wings. The Deep Freeze onto Cubsy. The Solar Beam lands onto Businessman, and Goreki is the kill target at this point. Still polymorph onto Cubsy. He has no out. Can Goreki heal himself up through this? Health Stone going to be used, as well as the regen, but the damage has not stopped yet. The double Shadow Fury on Majidin and Floria is going to stop a little bit of pressure for now. The Fear is going to get locked out. Cubsy in a triple DRCC. He might be DR'd on all of the CC at this point to heal up Goreki, and it looks like they survived another setup from Method Black, but we're at 6% dampening, and Floria's mana is slowly getting tapped. Asper now at 50% health. Gonna go ahead and use that Bark Skin to try to stay in the game here, but this is Dark Soul from Goreki. I mean, this Dark Soul is going to force them back, and there they go. They're going to run back here at this point. Starfire still connecting for Asper, but he wants to pull back. Floria probably telling him, listen, man, this is Dark Soul. We don't, all our DRs are up right now. Let's just pull back, let's reset, and let's get ready to go back in again. The setup's the name of the game, and they've been getting so close over and over. Cubsy looking for a drink right now, but he's going to come out of it to start getting the heals up. There's the Solar Beam onto Businessman, but the Iron Bark occurred before that, and looks like Businessman's going to be A-okay through that Hodge and Solar Beam, but the full Polymorph lands on the Cubsy. Iron Bark's finally fading, but the double Shadow Fury on both the DPS from Goreki is constantly just stopping the momentum of Method Black over and over again. Majidin now at 40% health here in the far back field from these knockbacks from Businessman. I mean, it is a small hill, but it's a hill nonetheless, so that hill is knocking them back into weird positions over and over and over again, almost too far away from Floria at times. So 13% dampening as these guys continue to sit back, continue to wait and see if they're able to make a setup on Cloud9. The dampening increases, and Cloud9's consistent pressure is going to eventually run Method Black dry. But so they might be able to get full mana right here, but how good is that going to be? But at the same time, we've seen time and time again, dampening goes both ways, right? It's really hard for Cubsy to heal through a lot of dampening as well. But here we go. The setup is here. The Solar Beam lands onto Businessman. Can Cubsy go into any CC? The full Hodge does land, but he's sitting in that bear form. Does the Ring of Frost land is the question. I believe it did get interrupted by a Typhoon by a knockback of Businessman. Great knockback to stop that ring, and Businessman is gonna get cloned up at low health here at this point. Cubsy in a full polymorph. This could be trouble for Businessman. He still has that Shamanistic Rage, but he's holding on to it for now. Is that the right choice? Nature Swiftness coming out for Cubsy has him no problem. He has so much confidence in his healer to keep him alive and well. The bash goes out on Asper. It's going to be bopped instantly, but he's still taking a bit of pressure. Floria's drink is helping him keep his team alive and healthy throughout all this. But Goreki's in a little bit of trouble. He catches the Hodge. He's going to trinket out of that at low health. Cubsy coming out of that Cyclone. The regen being used on Goreki as well as the Hellstone. He ports away out of line of sight for just a brief moment. Method Black taking a whole bunch of pressure. Asper Save of the Light is going to proc. His Celestial Alignment does finally fade, and the Devotion Aura as well as the Barkin is going to be used for him. Majidin also taking a whole bunch of pressure, but look at Floria's mana. He should be able to catch him up no problem, but it's hard to do that at 22% dampening. There's a Deep Freeze on the Cubsy. The bash out on the Businessman into that Solar Beam. He can't Sham Rage in this, guys. This is a whole bunch of pressure. Trinket forced out by Cubsy because of that lack of Shamanistic Rage, but Asper just goes down. He was just taking so much damage being pushed in there. I'm going to take a quick look at that replay, because I'm going to be honest with you guys. I missed the part where Asper was going to die. Let's take a quick look. Asper pushing in with that Hand of Sacrifice as well as the Bark Skin at 50% health here. Floria with lots of mana to spare, but at 22% dampening, it's very difficult. Asper still at 50% mana. Wealthy Man being put into that bash, and this is basically a whole bunch of damage from just Goreki, and boom goes the dynamite. take a quick look at that replay. The highest damage, 82,000 lava bursts coming out from Businessman, and I saw quite a few lava bursts coming out of that player. But look at the damage of the Elemental Shaman, even beating the Affliction Warlock as well as, or almost beating Asper. Asper's damage is just unbelievable as well. There we go. Game 2 goes to Cloud9, and now all of a sudden Method Black is just one game away from dropping down to the lower bracket. Can Method Black adapt accordingly to this LSD composition that Cloud9 is throwing at him, or are they going to just fold? Looks like, is that the newest map choice, Anna? Yes. 547. Yeah, the next map choice that's going to be chosen right away is going to be Tolvaron Arena, a much larger map, but it's also a lot more open. So even though it's a larger map for like melee and whatnot, or whatever, if you want to just push in and set up, it's also a lot more open, so it's almost a double-edged sword. It can be you can make yourself vulnerable, but you can also use it very well defensively. So 55k, yeah, usually if you see like a big damage ability on a UA, it's because it was dispelled. Whereas Super T's, he unfortunately couldn't make it today. Anyone know how donuts go? Here, let's take a quick look at that bracket so you guys know what has happened. Donut 3-0'd Method Orange and continuing on that winner's bracket. And Method Orange dropped down into the lower bracket to face Luminosity. Up next, what we're doing right now is Cloud9 versus Method Black, and the loser of this series is going to drop down to face Tempo Storm, and the winner will go on to face Donut. Just to catch you guys up on everything that's happening. Oh man! All right, the queue has popped, guys, and we're going to jump right into the arena. It's Tolvaron. Hello, hello. It's me again. All right, welcome to Tolvaron Arena. Looks like both of these teams are sticking with the compositions that they played so far, and it is so funny to see Asper on a Moonkin on that chicken, that fiery chicken. But here we go. Can Method Black pull it out? Can they somehow beat the LSD? So far, it just doesn't seem that way. But this is a double elimination tournament, guys. If Method Black gets knocked down here, they're not out of the tournament just yet. Here we go. The gates are about to open. It's Mageddon, Asper, and Floria running that Mage, Boomkid, Holy Paladin composition they are so well known for. And then Cloud9, on the other hand, running LSD, a composition we used to see in the past a lot, but they're bringing it back to life here. And right away, it looks like Mageddon wants to push in and get some setups going. Businessman, the kill target for now. Cubsy's still in stealth, not coming out just yet. He knows he's going to go into so much CC as soon as he comes out. He goes ahead and gives his team sprint, but there's a deep freeze on the Cubsy in the human form. That's instantly going to be the Shamanistic Rage for Businessman, as well as the Bark Skin for Cubsy. Whoa, whole bunch of pressure going out onto Cubsy through all this. Wow, Nature Swiftness being used, so much being used out from Cubsy, as that was a Celestial alignment and cooldowns from Mageddon. And Asper now dipping down to 50% health here, but all of a sudden, Businessman might be in a bit of trouble, as he did use that Shamanistic Rage in the opener there when they were on Cubsy. As I say that, the full polymorph lands on the Cubsy. Businessman taking a bit of pressure. He's line of sighting for now. Deep Freeze goes out into Businessman, half polymorph onto Cubsy. Businessman without Shamanistic Rage is desperately trying to push these guys out of his face with his Lava Blast, but he's still dipping down to 55% health here. The DR Hodge goes out onto Businessman. Cubsy out of CC, but can he heal through the damage? Floria also pushing in with those Denounces and Holy Shocks with the wings up as well, giving Businessman a whole bunch of damage, giving him the business, to say the least. There's the Cyclone going out onto Businessman to keep him relatively low health here, but Cubsy's just re-hotting him over and over and over again, getting those Regos out as well. And he's not running the Regrowth Glyph, so those Regos are actually putting Hots in on well, prepping himself for the next setup. But there's a Dark Soul coming out for Goreki, getting all of the dots out. Full polymorph lands into him. Mageddon knows he's pumping out the damage, especially with that Demon Soul up. So he's just gonna pull back for now, wait for the DRs, wait for their setup, and it looks like they're trying to kill the pet. Both teams actually swapping over onto the pet, and the Water Elemental actually did end up going down, and it looks like the Warlock pet is actually going to go down, but he's just going to resummon another one. Asper now dipping down to 40% health here as he's trying to push in and kill this pet once again, but he's taking a whole bunch of damage. There's the deep freeze on the Cubsy, the solar beam onto just about everybody, the Hodge onto Goreki. Goreki knows he's the kill target. He's going to pull away, he's going to port, but Asper already on his tail with that Displacer Beast trying to get some damage out onto him. Hex lands on the Mageddon, and he comes out of it just about instantly because everyone on their team, or Asper, can decurse that. And the clones over and over on a Mageddon, and Cubsy knows that they're trying to make their setup happen, and he's just disrupting it any way he can. And as they push in, they're all taking quite a bit of pressure here from Businessman and Goreki. Asper at 40% healthier, dipping down to 30% healthier. Floria trying to keep him up, trying to keep him offensive, but the spread pressure from this team is pretty nuts. But look at Cubsy's mana. It is sacrificed a little bit. They're putting out the pressure, Method Black is. Floria now is the kill target for Method Black. He actually gets interrupted, and then Save by the Light is going to proc. And oh my gosh, he nearly goes down there. Wings being forced out, but on the other hand, Method Black's DPS are trying to push in, trying to make something happen. The full Ring of Frost lands on Cubsy. Shamanistic Rage being forced onto Businessman. You know, that offensive play coming out from Mageddon and Asper may have just saved Floria's life, because Floria getting locked out like that could have been the end of him, especially with that Elemental Shaman burst out of nowhere. There we go. Goreki does not have an Observer right now, and he's going to force to get it out and instantly locks out Asper's clone. Floria pushing in with his wings for just a few more seconds. I really don't know what it is that Method Black needs to do differently to get the defensive cooldowns they need out of them, but they've been doing a great job so far trying to get defensive cooldowns out of Businessman and Cubsy. And Shamanistic Rage still down for 10 more seconds. If they make something happen, they could get even more. But this is it. Their tournament life, or at least in the winners brackets, on the line. There's a solar beam going out onto Goreki. Businessman, the kill target, the full Hodge does land on him here as Cubsy's in the full ring. Celestial alignment coming up. The DR bash onto Businessman. Asper in his face as a caster, pumping in the damage. But Cubsy's Nature Swiftness is going to keep him A-okay for now, as well as that Iron Bark. And that must be so frustrating for Method Black to set up over and over and over again just to get denied by the preemptive Iron Barks and whatnot. But there we go. They're going to be pushed back once again. Saber the Light procking on Mageddon. The dots just being loaded up to those guys. They're going to pull back again, live another day, get another setup in. But here we go. Dampening is going to be starting very, very soon. Cubsy's going for a drink at this point at 55% mana. He's holding on to that advantage that he's been using so very well. Floria also in the backline using that mage food is going to be healing up very, very quickly. Look at that mana just skyrocket right up. He's coming back at 84% mana, and Mageddon's got to be careful, man. He's getting chunked down by that Elemental Shaman. Asper now pushing in, looking to get a setup. He's going to use his Bark Skin so he can push out. There's the Iron Bark. The Hodge goes out onto Businessman. Asper dipping lower and lower. The deep freeze on the Cubsy. Businessman not taking a whole bunch of pressure, but he dips down to 50% health here out of nowhere. Cubsy not into any CC just yet and still has that trinket available, as well as the Nature Swiftness. And it looks like Method Black still not able to make anything happen with their setups. Not yet anyway. 1% dampening at this point. Mageddon getting chunked quite a bit. Lots of lava blasts going towards him. Floria's wings still up for just 6 more seconds, so Aspen and Mageddon can afford to go and hang out in their faces, just taking that pressure. But here we go. The polymorph lands onto Goreki, but it's DR'd. Cubsy's sitting in that bear form, and now he's going into cat form to prowl. They can't see what they can't see. Whoa, that rhymed. But there's the Cyclone onto Businessman, and there Ironbark preemptively from Cubsy onto Goreki because they know Businessman was cloned up. I'm not sure about that. Maybe he'll need that later. Maybe they can jump on that. But it looks like Mageddon, Asper, and Floria are still desperately just trying to make something happen, but are constantly just getting pressured. But there's a Solar Beam onto Businessman. He can't Sham Rage in that. The Deep Freeze onto Cubsy. Can they make something happen? It looks like they want to go onto Goreki with the Hodge. Goreki's instantly going to Trinket and regen right away. He's not giving up his advantage. Not right now, anyway. And there's the half polymorph onto Cubsy. Goreki at 82% health here. So freaking fine right now. But Floria, Asper, and Mageddon, it's a different story with lots of dots loaded onto him. Asper catching a quick cleanse from his healer is going to clean him up quite nicely, but at 8% mana, how much longer can these guys do this? Goreki now using that Demon Soul, and now everyone at low health is super scared, but there's the bash on the Goreki. Maybe they could turn it around on him. Cubsy into that Cyclone, but now he's out of it. Shadow Meld goes off for Cubsy. He's trying to avoid as much CC as possible, and there's a full Cyclone onto Businessman. Floria using his wings, trying to keep his team offensive, trying to keep them in their face because they know they can't survive through it all. The Iron Bark already back up for Cubsy and going to be used onto Goreki, though, keeping him so fine and healthy, and at 11% health here. This has to be frustrating for Method Black. They can't get past the defensive wall that Cloud9 has put up. Deep freeze on the Cubsy. Hodge on the Goreki. He's taking a bit of pressure. There's the solar beam going out as well. Dipping down to 30% health. He has no regen available to this or health stone. He's going to port nowhere. Was that a misplay? Cubsy trying to get back in line of sight of his Warlock. They finally reconvene. He's catching a whole bunch of heals, but at 14% mana or dampening, is it going to be enough? Looks like it is for now. Majidin getting locked out constantly on those polymorphs, trying to find an opening in Cloud9's defensives, but they're being so good at interrupting as much momentum as they possibly can. Well, here we go. There's a Cyclone going out onto Goreki, full polymorph onto Cubsy. Looks like they might want to go on to... Looks like they're going on Goreki with the full Hodge. The orb comes out as well. Cubsy put into a half polymorph, but is that orb actually going to break it out? I don't believe it did. And there's the deep freeze onto Cubsy, and Goreki still sitting at full health. He's A-okay for now with the preemptive hots. Floria, though, on the other hand, is forced to use his Save by the Light on himself. Asper dipping down too. Save by the Light proccing onto him. Save by the Light proccing left and right from the dots and the damage of Businessman, and now this is Demon Soul. This is scary for Floria to heal through, as Asper's already at 25% health here. He is so scared. Aura Mastery coming out from Floria. It also reduces damage and makes it so he can free cast, and it looks like he's going to survive through it for now. Businessman sitting pretty with a Shamanistic Rage, as well as Goreki with his regen, and Cloud9 is ready for the next setup at 21% dampening. But look at Cubsy's mana. He's at 37% mana. I don't know if Cubsy can continue to do this the entire game too. It could go either way. It really could. All it takes is one setup from Method Black, and Cloud9 takes a loss. But so far, Cloud9 doing a great job consistently stopping the setups over and over and over again. Majidin taking a bit of pressure, looking to get the setup rolling. The Fears finally DR onto Asper. There's a shot. There's the stun going out onto Majidin and Asper from Goreki. But Majidin at 12% health. This might have to be a block here very, very soon. Businessman caught into that solar beam, but not a lot accomplished out of it. The deep freeze on the Cubsy, 19% mana for him. Hodge on the Goreki. Full polymorph lands on the Cubsy. He has a trinket, but he's not going to use it just yet. The regen being used by Goreki at lower health, but at 26% dampening, it's not going to do a whole lot for him. And the orb is still going ham onto Goreki. Cubsy using that nature swiftness, keeping him a-okay for now, but it didn't do a whole lot, and he's going to get cloned up. He's going to actually unbound will out of that Cyclone, and he's at 40% health there at that point. Asper catching haunts and haunts time and time again. Maybe Goreki smells blood in the water, as GCD, Majidin, Asper, and Floria are all taking so much damage from the constant pressure of this Warlock Elemental. There's the deep freeze on the Cubsy. Can Majidin land that Ring of Frost? He will. Goreki knew he was going to be able to, so he tried to line of sight, get the port out. Full Hodge lands on the Goreki right next to his port. He has nowhere to go. Full polymorph lands onto Businessman as well. Goreki at 60% health here. Cubsy in the full Cyclone. Goreki's alone, taking a whole bunch of the pressure from Majidin and Asper. And finally, the CC does fade onto Cubsy, but the Cyclone offensively onto Goreki's going to keep him under 50% health here, and there's a solar beam, but Cubsy's going to get out of it preemptively, and the bash goes out onto Goreki. If they can follow up CC on the Cubsy, they could land the kill right here, right now. But look at Floria's mana. He gets locked out, gets put into a bash, and he is going to go ahead and just bubble, so it must have been a wind shear. It wasn't actually a kick or anything like that, but Goreki's still in a bit of trouble, dipping down to 50% health here in the CC chain. This doesn't seem to end. The Celestial Alignment does finally fade, and but Goreki does get locked out of that haunt. Ironbark being caught by Cubsy, but he's at 12% mana. Somehow Floria is beating him on mana at this point. Asper now put into the clone in bear form though, so as soon as he gets out of that, he should be okay. The double Shadow Fury coming out for Goreki with that Demon Soul up. Is this going to be it? Majidin goes down. There it is. 3-0 for Cloud9, making a very convincing play against what is a very scary team. And Cloud9, will continue on into the winner's bracket versus I believe Donut, and Method Black is going to drop down to face Tempo Storm. Both teams very, very scary for both winner and loser. All right, everybody, let's take a look at who's coming up next. I think you guys are interested. Are you guys interested in who's next? Let's look at that bracket. Up next, we have the lower bracket, Method Orange versus Luminosity. Now, because it is the lower bracket, everybody, that means whoever loses in this next series will be eliminated from the tournament. And that is Orange, Method Orange, and Luminosity. We have Beanslayer X, Sea-Doo, Dota, and Mez going up against Smexen, Vanguards, and Wong. All of these players are just so very good. Tournament experience and all. I can't wait to see this matchup. But Luminosity only has that 3-player roster, so we can only expect to see at least Holy Paladin Turbo or Discipline Priest Turbo is the 2 compositions we've seen most from Luminosity. Does Method Orange have an answer to Turbo? We're going to find out that next, guys. But make sure you guys are giving Sea-Doo all of your energy because he's going to need it. He's in the lower bracket and he's up for elimination right now, guys. Let's get some rise-ups in chat. He's going to need all the support he can get. And as soon as I get confirmation from the admin, we're going to jump right in the map. What's going on? Where are these players at? Not ready yet, Hannah?
I'm working on it.
She's working on it. She's working on it, guys. Mez the God. I don't think is it gonna be Turbo FLS? I'm not 100% sure. Look at those rise up. I know Sea-Doo's feeling it right now. He's feeling it in his tenderloins. Players are just using a quick bathroom break. I'm gonna take the time to rest my voice for this next series because it's gonna be an intense one. Ooh. Alright guys, while we wait for these teams to get ready, just a quick word from our sponsors. We are sponsored by Jinx and Follow Esports. Shout out to those guys. They make the dream stay alive. But not only that, Jinx sells some really cool gaming gear. This shirt itself has come from Jinx. They are so cool. Cyber Monday is right around the corner, guys, so make sure to get those 50% off deals by clicking that link below. Not only does that link support GCD TV, but it also supports our sponsor, which support us. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation. But also, we are sponsored by Follow Esports as well. If you want to see anything what to do with esports, that's the website to go to. It's the TV guide of esports. And the reason why I'm just so happy about my sponsors is because we can't do this without them. Their support and their relevant products are what keep GCD alive. So thank you guys so much, and check this video out. Thank you for watching that, guys. You know what's cool? You guys are calling me a sellout. It's cool. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But really, though, our sponsors, we only take sponsors that we really, really like or we really, really want to support. And I mean, Jinx has Warcraft gear and Follow Esports has esports. I mean, what's better than that, right? But here we go, guys. The first game of this series. You guys ready to give Sea-Doo some more energy? It's in the Grand Arena. Alright guys, it looks like we're going to have to re-queue this. One of the teams wasn't ready and we're going to jump right back into the action. And I am ready for queue whenever. What's the story, Hannah? One of the teams just forgot to take the queue or something? Okay, we got to re-queue in a sec. Alright, no worries. We're going to jump right back into the games, guys. But for real, I'm so excited to see this series. Luminosity running that Turbo Cleave, and they are a feared Turbo to say the very least. They were owning right before the qualifiers as Turbo Cleave, and Wong, a great Holy Paladin, showing he can adapt as well as playing a Disciplined Priest, going up against Method Orange. Beanslayer, famous for his super sweet Feral Druid. Sea-Doo, of course, the Restoration Shaman, but has that Paladin in his back pocket. Dota the Warlock, and Mez the DK. I also have seen Mez play a Warrior a little bit. I'm curious to see if we're going to see Mez Warrior come out today, but I don't expect it. But one thing to note is that Beanslayer and Mez, that Ebola Cleave is terrifying. A Cleave versus Cleave might be something really interesting to watch. It's super sweet. I love watching, like when I say like when I mispronounce words and stuff like that. I love looking at chat. It's really funny. Is D Machine casting in a sauna? No, I just have